Yeah, fortunately he has his whole title on his slide, so he's the business group leader for the social aspect in Germany and Europe, and we're very happy with him having him with us today. And I asked him to, because he's also, he did a nice, it's a German talk, but it's a nice video on YouTube about his German talk where he's relating social with drugs. So, and therefore we came into discussion and I asked him whether he could transfer this also, the social aspect, what he's seen, and the stuff about the relation to drugs, towards the building blocks of the digital enterprise that we need to be successful at the end. So this was my question to him, and therefore that's his keynote for today. Thorsten Hübschen.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for inviting me. I'm quite happy today that I'm here to talk about, not just about drugs, which is an interesting topic at its own, but on the broader scope of digital transformation. It's a topic we could talk for hours. I understand I have 20 minutes, so let me just start with one sentence. I firmly believe that human touch, menschliche Nähe in German, is going to be the key driver of the future of work in the digital age. And why I believe that? Please let me share my perspective on the broader topic on digital transformation. So we start with a vision. A vision is a personal thing. The vision is how I believe the future of work, the future way we work together will look like and feel like. And I believe that the future will have two phases. The one phase will be the phase of digitalization, which will bring us to a world of less and less limits. The other phase will be the phase of the work that we do, the new work, which will be more and more human. And these two aspects of digitalization and new work, less limits and more human, they're not contradictory. Often the discussion is, in the digital world, it's a cold world, we need to do something to make it more human again. I believe that the two things are two things of the same motion that we see. So the digitalization will only work if we make it more human, and if it works, it will become more human. Why is that? If you look what's happening, then in Germany we talk a lot about Industry 4.0, Industry 4.0. And it's really the fourth phase that we see in history. We moved from ad hoc processes to standardized process in the age of industrialization. And the first production line invented by Ford and Taylor was really changing the way that we work together. It made human to kind of assets, exchangeable assets that you can multiply, working in a production line in almost unlimited way. This kind of processes came to an end in the beginning of the century, in the mid-century after the World War, when we created adaptive processes. Especially in Germany with the rise of the industrial robots, and in Japan as well, there was a new rise of processes which are much more efficient. But in the end of the last decade, the last century, we ran against a wall of complexity. You can go only so far with this kind of processes without just being drained in complexity. And what we see right now is really a new age of processes which are more intelligent. So not just adaptable, but really going back to processes that kind of control themselves. And this is the kind of digitalization that we're doing right now. It has nothing to do with the internet itself. It has to do with the kind of value processes, value change we are doing inside the companies. And we are just at the beginning of this one. Intelligence makes a link to human work. In the way that we automate work, the work that humans are doing is changing. And there's a quite interesting study from 2013 depicting what kind of jobs are not going to be computerized in the next 20 years or even the next 10 years. And there are three big buckets of jobs that will remain done by humans. The first is really the kind of very sophisticated perception and manipulation driven work. I picture here a watchmaker, and this kind of things where really the kind of thing that only human hands can do will remain done by humans. The whole field of creative intelligence, so where make ideas, where do creative stuff, and creative means as well management, literature, and product design will remain human. And social interaction, like selling things, like caring for others, like interacting with people, will be the main thing that remains human. And if you picture that a workforce today, it's moving quite fast into that direction. So the jobs that are not here are going away quite fast. So the way that people will work today and the future will become much more human, because I think everybody will agree that this kind of interactions and way of work, it's a core that what we humans are doing. So digitalization will drive us to a much more human way of work. But how will that look like? So how does an enterprise 2.0 or 4.0 will be built upon? So Björn asked me to share my view of building blocks, how to get there and how to build up such an enterprise. In my view, it's really important that we do three things together. It always starts with people. So enterprises are nothing else than people that bound together to do something, to realize an idea. Technology will be at the heart. So technology will be the enabler to do that kind of thing that we would like to do. And not just like a nice tool, but really the building block that it's a necessary precondition to do that kind of enterprises. And then the last thing, usually forgotten, we have to talk about spaces. Because work and organization lives in physical spaces. We talk a lot about virtual spaces, but still we humans, we have bodies and we are interacting in physical spaces, and we need that spaces to be part of that kind of digital transformation. What does it mean in detail? So if you look at the people part first, and it needs to start with people. It needs to start with culture. Culture is the thing that gives orientation and a purpose in a company, in an enterprise. And that has to change quite fundamentally. You've seen in the first talk some details about that, but really the belief that if everything is true what I've said, the value chain is changing to the kind of intelligent processes to a more human thing, then humans become the core assets of a company. And not just as exchangeable assets, but really as individuals. So I have to think my culture from the individual and not from the stakeholder, which is a fundamental change. And I need to really believe that I've empowered people, that I don't have to, like in the Tayloristic way, direct them to do something, but really to have individuals that are driven by themselves. That means a total change in leadership. I sometimes say management is that. Management in the Tayloristic way, really of German Vorarbeit, some guy who really tells people what to do in the next hour and how to do it. This is going away rapidly because machines will do that. You know, in the moment where I have repeatable processes that are standard and routine processes, machines will do that. So this kind of management is really not necessary in the future, and it changes to leadership. Leadership is defined, as Martin Luther King did it, to give a vision, to give energy, to give direction, and to motivate and bring people with it. This is the new thing of leadership that's necessary in this transformation. And the last thing, organization, so how we work together, that will move away quite rapidly from the hierarchy thing. Hierarchies was invented and was one of the key inventions of human history to scale. If you build organizations that are bigger than a startup of 10 or 15 or 50 people, you need to bring it into smaller pieces just to scale. Because humans can just work in groups of maximum 150 people without an organization. This needs to go away because complex organizations are not stable anymore. In the speed of change that we are operating into, the rigid organization will just fail. You see that at Microsoft, how complicated it is in a rigid organization to accelerate at the speed that's necessary right now. Looking at technology, and this will help. So the key thing, accelerate. We will need to have technology at the core to accelerate our key processes, really coming from the core customer processes. Back there in the last years or last decade, it was usually if you order something, we are not Amazon, but the older things. You got it via postal service next week. Now today we expect to have it the next day or in the evening. So the acceleration goes around every part of the companies. That's one core part of technology which will be the digital backbone of the new companies. The assist part, we just started. If you remember Office back then, 15 years ago, Office, whatever, 97, with Clippy, this kind of little assistant, which was a little bit limited in its ability. We're moving quite fast in a way to build really intelligent assistants. We started at Windows 10 with Cortana and Office Graph and Office 365 to build really intelligent, context-aware assistants that help us doing more high-level things. And the last and most important thing that technology will bring us is to empower and to empower knowledge work. To really give us intuition, give us idea, help us analyze data, help us make things tangible, to appeal to our natural way how to create new things. Space, and this is really usually forgotten. Space, it's not about just fancy new office space with funny playgrounds in it. It's first of all to connect people and to connect physical and virtual rooms. I go to an office space to connect with my organization, my people, and to be connected to the virtual space that's defined my organization, which is much more important. Meaning to have access to technology that allows me to talk to my colleagues in Singapore, to connect through time zones. That's the first thing. The second thing is protection. Companies, the spaces, the factories in the 19th century was to protect the valuable asset, the machines. Nowadays, the most important asset are the people, and to protect them means to keep them healthy. And healthy means more than in the last century, not so the physical healthiness, but the mental healthiness. So we need to design environments that keep us just basically mental healthy, because the stress level that we create in this new kind of working environment, the emotional stress is going to go up. So we need to create an environment that helps us to manage ourselves, to maintain our healthiness. And the last thing, identity. In the way that we move to a more virtual world, it's becoming more and more important to reconfirm what the values of a company is. So what we are standing for. Because in a virtual world, it's everything getting so fluent that you need some kind of temple where you go to and where you understand what you're doing, what's your shared identity is, what part of your life that you're part of this company. How to get there? We always talk about digital transformation, and if you look at that kind of world, wow, that's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of gaps to bridge. My view on transformation, it's a quite radical way. What we used to do, I just compare with water. Water comes in three different phases: an ice, fluid, and gas. There are three pictures of how we can organize. We can organize in a very rigid way, like ice, like an ice crystal, and a quite clear structure, which is not flexible at all, and which can break if you do enough pressure on it. It will just break and shatter. You can do it in a fluid organization, like kind of startup thing, where everything is getting together, but it's not a clear structure, just a team of 20 people sitting together. Or you can do it even in a gas-like state, like individuals, freelancers who are just running around with high energy, disruptive thing, but don't adhere to a bigger team or a bigger thing. And usually transformation or transition, and this is the two words that are used usually at the same point but are quite different. Transition means transitioning between these phases. An organization, if a big company like Siemens or whatever is doing a reorganization, they are transitioning from a rigid state, which is the normal balanced state of a big company, an ice-like state. They're just melting it a little bit, maybe going a little bit to the gas phase as well, but usually just melting it and then refreezing it. So it's going from the ice state to the fluid state and then back again to the ice state in a new form, which is better suited for the future. This is called change management. From one secure state over an unsecure period to a next secure state. And this is over. So the key thing that the digital transformation for me means we will not do again any change management. We'll do a transformation one time. Transformation means we have to add something. Not just going from one phase to another, because really the fluid phase and the gas phase, it's not sustainable for a big company. You cannot do that. It's just too less structure. The thing will blow you away. But if you add something to the water, a drop of soap, something really new creates a foam. If you put one drop of soap into water and curl it a little bit, you will get really beautiful foam. And foam is, for me, the vision, the picture of how a future organization will look like and feel like. Because it has all three things. It has structure, very nice, very highly complex structure. It's quite fluid because the bubbles and the structure are changing rapidly. And it has this dynamic of the gas state because in each of the bubbles it's gas. And this is my view how the future organization will look like. And we are just transforming one time to this kind of state, and then we have all three states together. There may be some times of emergency when it's getting a little bit more frozen and the structures are getting more rigid. Sometimes it's more fluid, but it always remains in this kind of three-phase state. It will not change to one phase back and again. So it's a one-step transformation. We have to add something, but then it's a fluid state. And this is really the key, and most clients that I talk to are still thinking about change management. And I firmly believe we cannot do again a change management. It will be a step to this kind of state. The question just remains, what is the drop? What do we have to add to our organization? And social is one of these drops that we can use to drive this transformation to that foam state. So digital companies in the future will look like digital foam. And social, how can social do that? Social is doing it by inserting three things into the water. And it's not about technology. It's about trust, it's about context and intuition. What a company needs to do that kind of foam-like structure is first of all trust. And trust means not naively thinking I can trust everybody, but it means really in a very physical and a very hard way that the relationship, who belongs to my bubble, how this kind of structures are going to be created. That needs to be somehow transported in the organization. I need to know who I can trust, which knowledge I can trust, with whom I can form kind of teams, collaborations, and with whom not. Context means I need to find connections between this kind of different bubbles. So from my project, what's the context to how can I understand the knowledge? Context start with languages and translation. Translation always means to put one thing into another context in my own language. It means to understand what's the external context. So this product, the product that I'm inventing right now, what's the right market for it. Intuition at the end, it's really how to transfer data, information to real insight. It's our core capability as humans to see pattern, to do decisions, to derive insight that only we can do. That's not sitting in the data. So really talking with Kant or Immanuel Kant, going from analytic to empiric knowledge is what humans are doing. How can social do that? Because if we agree that this is a kind of key thing that's going to be needed to move an organization from an old information-based organization to a new knowledge-based organization, a kind of digital phone. Social is doing it by three things. There was a key thing that we learned at Facebook. Social networks can transport trust. I trust the friends of my friends more than other people. So trust is a kind of thing that is transitive and moves across the kind of networks. It's simple as that. It was in the old ages where we had family structures. Trust was around transported around families. I trusted the cousins of my cousins more than any foreigners. And that's what we are building with the social networks. We just transport trust. Context. I was always thinking about why are people in southern India who have no idea how a computer works and could not use Word or Excel, how they are able to use Facebook. Because there's no manual, no training how to use Facebook, but from a scientific standpoint, Facebook is a very complex data structure. It's a multidimensional dynamic graph system where millions of people are working at the same time. And people in southern India are just using that. It's because it works like our brain. Our brain works like associations, really like a network. So working like a network means really like working like the human brain. And this is quite natural for us. So the social networks provide information in a way that's really the same, I would think, to provide context about things. Not abstract concepts, but context. And the last thing is intuition. We always knew the science fiction films where people are interacting that kind of natural way with data and digging into data, getting insight. And that's not a joke or that's not a future vision, but that's really kind of how we gather insight from data. Like people are playing with something. We should learn much more from people, how they get insights from playing with Lego or whatever. They are touching it, they are combining it, and this is the kind of way how social is helping to get a view on what's happening in complex data. And what the success factors do that? Because that's a huge step. Success factors, and coming to the end now, what I've learned from the project is really you have to have the right strategy, you have to have the right tools, and you have to care about biology. Because social means really, kind of human thing, and we are human, we are first based on biology. Strategy, it's clear, but it's still the hard thing to do. It needs to be holistic, so I need to have a strategy that's around people, technology, and spaces, and you have to do everything at once, because it's highly interdependent. You cannot achieve much progress in one thing while neglecting the other things. It has to be focused on value, and value means just really what's the core thing that my business is doing. So what's the core value chain, what are my customers, what's the external part. And the external part, looking back again at the picture of the phone, one wonderful thing of phone is the surface it's increased dramatically. The surface of a phone, it's multiple times bigger than the surface of just a water surface. And this kind of increasing the surface of my organization to the external world, that's key on driving business value. I increase the contact point to my customers by huge time. And you have to be radical. It's no way to do it half pregnant. You have to do it all in, and there's no way back. if you once started to do that kind of social, the empowerment way, if you then decelerate, the organization will just break and people will go away. So you have to be clear. It's a one-way track that you're starting on. And the last thing, the tools. You have to be careful about the tools. You cannot start with some, not easy to use kind of unnatural thing that people have to learn. Because the tools, they have to be, first of all, seamless. So there is no social tool. There are social capabilities, but there's no social tools that you invent and roll out as another tool. Now it needs to be seamlessly integrated in the environment, in the digital workplace that your people are using, and they need to be really intelligent. Because social means like I have another, the interaction needs to be like with a human being, and not really some silo that I have to learn. And finally, biology, and that is really like spaces, usually misunderstood or not looked after. And this was the key of my drug talk. Social really work affects heavily the biological trigger that we have as a human. It creates in a very specific way joy that's very similar to what opium is doing to us. So the kind of addiction like, hey, I have to check emails, this is playing with our biology, for good or for bad. Like a drug can be good and bad. And you have to be very, very careful in understanding what you're doing there and to use it on the good side. The other thing is stress. This is cortisol. This is the main reason why we have so many burnout and depression cases in the companies. That can be somehow healed with social, and it can be increased with social. And you have to manage that quite well, because social stress can increase by social. If too many things information are getting on me, and can be healed by social, because I have much more relation where I feel safe. And you have to manage really that kind of which level of stress it's a good level and the bad level. And the last thing where I would like to end with is ethics. This is a picture of the Milgram experiment done after the Second World War. And the one thing that we learned from it is that abstraction kills. At the moment that we don't see the results of our decision, people are losing their morality. We don't have the biological system to act ethically without seeing what we are doing. The moment that we abstract it out, that the person that we are hurting is sitting in the next room, we are doing cruel things. And social can help us much, because in the companies we see more and more moral hazard. That companies are doing things where everybody in the company would not do that. But as a whole, we're doing really bad things. And at the moment, if I see faces, if I see the people that I'm doing things to, even if I see them only virtually, my biology kicks in and I act more moral than I would do other way. And that would be my key thing. Look at that one. Abstraction it kills. And with social we can reduce abstraction and make it much more affecting our human being. So let me stop with the first sentence. My core belief is human touch, menschliche Nähe. It's a key to do good work. Work of the future in the digital age. Thanks for your time.
Are there any questions? So how do we get the C-suite feeling this human touch or empathy and bring this to the workspace?
I think the C-suite, they are looking a lot on this thing because of two things. Usually if you go to the C-suite, you have a much broader view and care about both your customers and your people and the organization and how it's developing. And they usually ask the question, how do they do that? Because if you look at the big organization of 50,000 people, they usually don't have the levers how to implement that. I think the tools that we're now providing to create this technology, the way to reach out to 10,000 of people in a more human way, that's exactly what they're asking for.
But do they understand that already the potential of the tools?
I think as you said in this kind of Gartner chart, the impression is usually the last year it didn't work. We tried to roll out technology that was not integrated in this vision, and from a technology base was just at the beginning. We started with tools that were not seamlessly integrated, that were not working so good on mobile, that were not working against firewalls and whatever. So I think we have to restart. So I think Enterprise 2.0 will now move to 3.0, 4.0 to say, as you say, we learned the lessons. We have now mature technology, and we know how to play in a bigger road. And now we have to restart the discussion. At the moment that the C-level just sees, hey, it really works, we can restart again.
Any questions in the room still? Thank you. We have to move forward. We have still a discussion at the end. Thank you, Thorsten.